Hello everyone and welcome. The $25 Micro RC AE86 is back on the bench. In a previous video, I did a little overview and review of these inexpensive RC cars that I got off of Amazon. While far from the hobby grade and custom cars that I generally show on this channel, I'm honestly impressed by how much fun these little cars are for such a low price. At the end of that video, I talked about possibly modifying these cars to personalize them a bit with some fresh paint and custom wheels. There was a lot of interest from viewers wanting to see me do it, so I decided to go ahead and start with this AE86 lookalike. Despite the low cost and lack of official licensing, the body looks pretty good for what it is, and I do like the inclusion of the functional headlights. I don't plan on doing any changes to the mechanics or electronics of the car. Apparently some people have modified the steering and chassis, but I'm just looking for a quick, simple project, and will just be painting and making custom wheels. I got started by removing the body from the chassis. This required a few screws and some plastic pieces to be removed, but overall a very easy process. It's all quite simple underneath. The wires that go to the LEDs could be easily unplugged, though the LEDs themselves are glued to the body. The first thing that I wanted to do was quickly sand the body. I think I might have used something like 400 grit sandpaper, and I wanted to roughen up the smooth plastic to help the primer adhere to the body. Since I couldn't really find a way to remove the lights, I needed to mask them off so that they won't get covered up with paint. I also applied some masking around the bottom edge. I sprayed the primer and then sanded the body with some 600 grit sandpaper to hopefully help with paint adhesion. I picked up some fancy paint from AutoZone and sprayed the body. I love this color, but it's thinner than the paint that I'm used to, so as a result, lines from sanding and the texture of the primer is visible. It's no fault of the paint. Next time I just need to make sure that the base is much smoother before painting. I definitely do want to use this paint again as, like I said before, I love the color and overall look. Let's switch gears here while we wait for the paint to dry and focus on the wheels. The wheels that are on the car right now look alright, but also a little cheap and not quite the style that I want. I took a bunch of measurements such as the diameter, width, and back spacing, and with those measurements I began designing my own custom wheels. I wanted to design something pretty wild and different from the norm. I had some ideas in my head that I gradually worked into the design. I needed to make the wheels have similar dimensions to the factory ones. However, I made mine slightly larger in diameter, a little wider, and I also wanted them to stick out a little beyond the body. Like I said, this design is a little out there, and I know opinions are mixed, but hey, it's my car so I get to decide how it looks. I have posted the STL files for these wheels and tires on Patreon, so if you'd like to print a set of your own, you'll find the link below. I've also posted them on Shapeways. While the wheels are printing, I began painting some details on the body, starting with the windows. Obviously, having clear windows is not an option on this car, so I went with gloss black. Fortunately, the lines around the windows are pretty deep, so it was easy to cut out these sections and use an airbrush to paint. Along with the windows, I airbrushed the grille and lower fog lights. So far so good, the body is already looking better with these sections painted. Before I continue to paint the last details, I thoroughly washed the body and applied the clear coat. By this time the wheels had finished printing and they turned out awesome. I was eager to get these painted and mounted on the chassis. I removed all of the support structure and sanded each wheel and tire before washing off the dust and painting. I sprayed the tires black and wheels silver. The body looks even better with the clear coat applied. Some dust landed on the clear coat, but fortunately I was able to get some of it out with a little polish. I once again washed the body to remove the polish and painted the panel lines. After that, I removed the masking and painted a few final details. At this point I was satisfied with how the body looked, so I moved back over to the wheels. They looked great, but I wanted to paint the inner spokes bronze. I'm not sure if this is the best way to paint them, but it's probably the easiest, and that's just to mount them to the chassis, run the car, and gently use a brush to paint the parts that I wanted bronze. The final cherry on top was to make the lug nut silver with a Sharpie marker. I was really pleased with the final result. The tires were looking good as well, I just needed to use a little glue to secure them to the wheels. All that's left to do now is to reassemble the car. Fortunately, the front wheels clear the body despite them sticking out further than the originals. They might rub just a tad bit, but it's not an issue. I really couldn't be happier with how the car looks at this stage. I'm amazed at how big of a difference the paint and wheels really changed the overall look of the car. In my opinion, it's way cooler. The paint might be my favorite part. Like I said, I love this color and the almost color shifting effect it has in the light. As good as it looks on camera, it looks even better in person. I also love these wheels and the overall stance. I know this type of style isn't everyone's cup of tea. I can already hear the keyboards loudly clicking with the Ricer comments, and to be honest, if I had a full-scale AE86, I don't think I'd space them out this far, but I'm digging it. No surprise that the car drives exactly like it did before, since I didn't modify the chassis at all. It doesn't drift like a hobby-grade car, but it's still a lot of fun to slide around. I was only interested in modifying the cosmetics of this car. All in all, a fun little project that I hope you all enjoyed watching. I know I certainly had fun making this video. I'm tempted to maybe do a little more work to this body, like adding a tailpipe or maybe a bike and rack on the roof. I don't know, let me know what you think would look cool below in the comments. Also, I'm thinking about doing something similar to the Ferrari, giving it some fresh paint and new shoes, so let me know what you think would look cool on that car. But that's going to be all for today's video. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.